Apparently, we're live. Let me know if you guys can hear me, please. Mm-mm. All right. Cool. Do me a favor, guys. Hey, share this out. I'm using this functionality on my iPhone to be the webcam. And I must admit, it's better than I thought it was going to be, considering I thought it was going to be shit. So it's way better than I thought it was going to be. There you go. There we go. Perfect. Look at that. Right. Now let me see if I can organize Instagram as well. Quality ain't bad. That's right. I'm actually very, very surprised by it. So, just give me a second, guys. Just trying to go live on Instagram at the same time. I hope everyone's got a cigar, or at least the people that want to smoke. Somebody said, "How much does Colombia cost to live there per month?" That's very, very subjective. I mean, it very much depends on what type of life you're living. I can't really give you that answer. All right, we're live on Instagram as well. But YouTube is the place. I much prefer the YouTube side of the way this platform works. I love that question. Why did your boomer friend Bitcoin Tina sell the bottom? That's a question I don't know the answer to. But in the meantime, I'm going to be smoking a short cigar because I've got a dinner to go to. It's a Partagas Series D number 6, one of my favorites. In fact, I have the original Partagas logo on my pinky ring there, which is should tell you how much I love Partagas as a brand out of the Cuban cigar brands. And of course, what you got to do with a cigar is you got to cut the cap off. A lot of people don't know this about cigars, but so let me educate you guys a little bit about cigars. So you've got the top is called the cap, and the bottom is called the foot. So you light the foot, and then you cut the cap, and it's uh, it's very important to cut the cap. Whenever you look at a cigar, you will always see that there are 3 lines on the cap of the cigar. The 3 lines are the levels of how much you can cut. And if you cut below the 3 lines, the whole thing will unravel. The only thing holding this cigar together is going to be the cap and the band. And the band isn't the perfect thing because it's got to come undone. So I'm basically going to cut. You have to cut the cigar above the 3 lines, right? So you're not cutting a lot off. You're not cutting. You're just cutting right above the 3 lines. It's nothing fancy. It's very, very simple. Now, when it comes to lighting a cigar, you can use any lighter. This is my Bitcoin lighter because it's orange. Everything right now in my, I'm trying to buy everything orange. So when you light a cigar, what a lot of people in America will do is they will immediately take the flame and then go straight into the cigar and get very, very close to it. That works on Dominican and Nicaraguan cigars. because, and by the way, we'll get to Bitcoin in a minute. I'm just waiting for more people to join, and of course, please share this out as well. But a lot of people will get very very close to the cigar and light it, and it will actually tar and char the cigar. And you don't really want to do that because then the taste is shit. So the reason why that works with Dominican and Nicaraguan cigars, and why a lot of my American friends have bad habits to do this, is because Dominican and Nicaraguan cigars light much faster than Cuban cigars. With Cuban cigars, you have to take your time. So when you're lighting it, it's almost like the flame isn't even really touching the cigar. All I'm doing is allowing the flame to lick the cigar, and I'm only doing it outside, around the diameter of it. Now, outside, we're outside right now, so it's going to look a little bit different to how it would look inside. But when you're outside, you're basically going around the diameter of the cigar. The flame isn't touching the cigar, it's just licking the cigar. And that's going to heat up the cigar enough for it to be lit properly. And the reason why I only go around the outside of the cigar is that when I take the first puff, all of the heat will be sucked into the middle. And if you start in the middle, it will overheat the cigar and then it will taste like shit. And this is why I always mock my American friends, because normally you're used to smoking very, very shit cigars because they're not Cubans. Uh, and then when it comes to Cubans, you just char them and then say the flavor uh, isn't better. So how do you know a cigar is lit? How do you know it's ready? It's because the entire outside of the cigar is white. Right now, if I was inside and I went like this and blew on it, it would show up as orange. But because we're outside, it's going to show up as white. And then it's very simple. That's a perfectly lit cigar. And then on the first puff, the heat will get sucked into the middle, and then you're ready to go. Perfect. So let's. Are we gonna? Who's bullish as fuck? Who is bullish as fuck? Lump sum or $10 a month DCA? The $10 a month DCA gang is the worst gang I've ever met in my life. These are the most limp dick people that I've ever met. Listen, my perspective is this on anything. If you are going to get into an asset, spend time understanding the asset, and then go all in from day one. And in fact, it was actually proven. There was a guy named um, I've forgotten his name on Twitter. I've completely forgotten. But he did a backward study on whether you should DCA or just go lump sum. And he found that lump sum was, and I feel like such an asshole for forgetting this because I decided to sponsor the study as well. So I've completely forgotten. I apologize. The name has just completely left my mind. But the the um, the lump sum purchase always generates a higher ROI over a period of time compared to um, doing a DCA. So the DCA, who is that useful for? DCA stands for dollar cost average. Who's that useful for? DCA is useful for anyone who doesn't have conviction and who doesn't have the balls to get into the game on day one, and that's okay too. It's also useful. Actually, no, that's not even DCA. I was going to say it's useful for people who have a job who get paycheck, but that's not a DCA. If you get a job and you have a paycheck on the 15th, and then on the 16th you go and put whatever's remaining on that paycheck after your expenses into Bitcoin, that's a smash buy. That's an all-in-one lump sum purchase. That's not a DCA. That's a different situation. DCA is when somebody's got, let's say, $100,000 or $10,000 or whatever, and because of their inability to deal with the volatility, they voluntarily add in, $100 a day or some bullshit like that of purchases. So DCA always loses when it comes to lump sum purchases. Um, Someone said I put 4/5 of my retirement IRA into Bitcoin in the last week. Bullish as fuck. Absolutely. And here's why. I want everybody to go and bring up the Bitcoin chart, however you look at it, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your computer, whether it's on whatever. Go bring up the Bitcoin chart. This is what I wanted to talk about today. Bitcoin is at the 200-week moving average. It's at the 200-week moving average. The 200-week moving average is where I was in Bitcoin when I started buying Bitcoin back in 2020. We're now at the exact same place that I got involved. We're now again at the exact same place that every single time it has broken back above the 200-week moving average, it's done so powerfully, and it's always signaled the beginning of the next bull run. So, as far as I'm concerned, at this moment in time, right? At this moment in time, you are at the single best moment. If you have not allocated yet, or you've allocated in a limp dick way, basically DCA, when you've got money sitting in the bank, devaluing itself at 20% a year, now is the single best time to go ahead and do that, to go and allocate, because you got the 200-week moving average, which is the 4-year moving average. Somebody on Instagram said, when moon? I give it about 4 years. Give it about 2.5 years. Within the next 2.5 years, you're going to moon. So you've got an opportunity right now to buy at the 200-week moving average, which is the 4-year moving average. And by the way, anyone on Instagram, go check out the YouTube, and everyone on YouTube, check out Instagram as well. And also, I'm working my ass off for this book that I'm writing, and I think it's somebody said 90 days, homie. I agree. I'm working my ass off for this book. It's called Bitcoin. It's path to $5 million per coin. If you want to get that for $1 on the day that it launches, which right now is set to be April 23rd, 2023, which is about a month away, just go to britishhuddle.com and put your details in, and you can get it on launch day for $1. So once Jeff said, if you have 2 to 4 Bitcoin, you think that will be $10 million of today's spending power in 8 years? Interesting question. By the way, if you are smoking with me, I want to know which cigar you're smoking. Let me know in the comments. If you have 2 to 4 Bitcoin, you think that will be $10 million of spending power in 8 years, of today's spending power in 8 years? It's an interesting question. Here's my thinking of it. Here's my thinking around that. Spending power, depending on what you want to spend on, inflation is a vector. Inflation is not equal for everyone. For me, I like Cuban cigars. This one Cuban cigar is $20, right? This is one little tiny Cuban cigar, and that's $20 approximately. And so for me, and anyone who knows what the logo on this hat is, that's a little bit of change as well. I like certain things, and other people like different things. Some people like, some people like, I don't know, what should I say? Some people like sparkling water and steak, and that's all they like, right? So they have a particular inflation rate. Some people like Cuban cigars and Patek Philippe's. That's a different inflation rate. Some people like family holidays. Some people don't want a family holiday. They just want to live on a field somewhere, et cetera, et cetera, right? So everyone has a different inflation rate, and you need to decide what your inflation rate is. You cannot predict that on anyone else. Now, here's the interesting thing. In the last 10 years, the things that really went up in price were the rare things. And actually, the price of pizza, or the price of, the usual day-to-day shit that the average peasant wants to buy, didn't go up. Didn't go up a lot anyway. Now it has because of oil in the last year. I'm talking about in the last decade, 15 years, etc., etc. Relatively speaking, it didn't go up. However, Cuban cigars went up 50%, 60%, and they will continue to do that because of the rarity of them and the value of the assets that you people are liquidating to pay for them. So everything is good. The asset prices are going up, and that's what I think is going to happen in the next 15 to 20 years. I think Main Street inflation is pretty much done. I think that we're going to get to a point where Main Street inflation is a story of the past, and we start going into worrying about asset price inflation again, which is what the system is set up to do. So what does that mean? That means that we're about to get into a period where money is printed again. We're about to get into a period where um, where people start buying assets again because there's too much money sitting on the sidelines. How do you think? What do you think doing the Bitcoin price appreciation right now? You think this is just happening because some people are coming in and buying two or three Bitcoin? No, this is spot purchases going on right now. People are acquiring Bitcoin right now while certain people are sitting on their ass doing nothing or complaining about whatever Balaji is talking about. So at the end of the day, the question that you need to ask yourself is, so this is a long answer to that question, is what is your spending power? Personally, I don't think it's going to be the case because I like Cuban cigars and Patek Philippe's and first class travel, etc., etc. So I don't think it would be that. I think 2 to 4 Bitcoin will probably be, in 8 years, probably like 60 to 70% of today's spending power in terms of a $10 million value. Because I like buying things that go up in price as assets go up in price. It's different for me. Whereas for somebody who just wants the easy life and they've got 2 to 4 Bitcoin and they think it's going to be worth, 2 to 4 million dollars within 8 years, it's like, okay, will it have the same spending power? Maybe, because we're entering a very very deflationary period. Even though I think he's a bit of a muppet, Raul Pal said something that's quite interesting, and it's very true. Um, the emergence of AI tools, the emergence of AI tools like Chat GPT, etc., etc., makes it more likely that we are going to experience a level of deflation that we've never experienced before, right? Yeah, absolutely, Rug Pal. But listen, you guys know me. You guys have known me long enough. If someone's an idiot, I'm still going to take what they say, the good part of what they say, and give it credit, right? So we can mock him for the shit coinery and everything else, but this is a good point. The amount of AI deflation that's going to happen in the world that's already started. Everyone always complained about AI. It's AI is coming. AI is coming. AI is here. AI is here right now. So you got to ask yourself the question: is this going to make a difference or not? And I think it is. I think it's going to make a major difference. I think it's going to make a difference because, for example, I'd be putting together this team for British Huddle to do all the content stuff. It's like I thought we'd need a team of somewhere between 6 and 8 people, and at this point, because of certain tools that I only discovered in the last couple of weeks, based on what other people have been teaching me, we've taken the team down from six to an expectation of 6 to 8 to 2 people, and we haven't even started yet. Like I know a lot of people are seeing a lot of content come out, but we haven't even started yet. This has been a test for the last 2 weeks. This week we're really going to start try and kick things into gear, etc., etc. So this is deflation. I thought I was going to hire 6 to 8 people here in Colombia to do this team, to do this. We have two. That's all we need. A maximum of two. So that's a huge deflationary pressure. And how do you maintain that deflationary pressure? How do you counteract it? because the system we live in, you can't afford deflation, right? So if you can't afford deflation, how do you counteract that? You have to print money. You have to forcefully inflate ahead of the deflation that's happening. And so that's what will happen. People, you will see inflation of currency happening. You have to print money in order for it to happen. And that will start. It's already started. You had the Federal Reserve come out with six other central banks and turn around and say we're increasing dollar liquidity. You had all of this stuff while every person's sitting there shit scared about what's going on. The market's already sensing what is about to happen, and Bitcoin always senses it first. Always, it is the purest, most uh, honest risk on market that we can see, and it always senses it first. That's why Bitcoin's rising. Hey, by the way, I have no idea why the fuck Bitcoin Tina sold. Now, I can tell you that I agree with him rebalancing his portfolio. I agree with that, and he's again a friend of mine. I can agree that he rebalanced his portfolio, but selling, I don't know. I hope he's happy. See, my perspective is if you have to rebalance a portfolio because you overextended into an asset, you take that cash and you put it in the bank. Like everyone, I've said this multiple times. I have 3 years of cash in the bank. I don't care what inflation does. I don't care what any of that. I have 3 years of run rate in the bank. That's one thing. But then to say I'm going to sell and then turn around and say I'm waiting for an entry price, that's a bit stupid. So by the way, when you're ashing a cigar, a lot of newbies will just come in and bang the cigar. You don't want to do that. It's elegant shit here, right? This is not about ruining something, right? So what you do is very simply you just let it fall off. And the point at which you can bang it is once it's all fallen off, you can tap it to get the rest of the ash off. It's not a cigarette. Don't be an idiot. So the 200-week moving average is a very, very important number. It is the 4-year moving average. It is where most assets enter their bull run. Bitcoin is already above its 200 day, and now it's above its 200 week. This is where I started buying in 2020. If we are looking at time to buy, this is the perfect time to buy. I appreciate it. He said this is a cool video. Calvin said, yes, it is. Oliver teaches his students this. Dental Town said, I like the style. I appreciate it. It's a bit different. There's a lot of people with like news based stuff. I'm not that type of person. I don't think I'll ever do a podcast. I can imagine doing conversations as this grows with different people, but I don't think I can imagine doing a podcast. I just can't do that. I can't sit and talk to a microphone for too long before I start thinking the microphone is stupid. So at the end of the day, if you're sitting there, you got cash in the bank, you just seen banks go bust, and you still got cash in the bank, you're the idiot. You're the idiot. Now is the time to get invested. Now is the time to actually care about your money more than anyone else does. And you're sitting there while they've just activated another $200 billion in the system, and you're sitting there going, you know what, I'm just going to leave my cash, majority of my cash or a large portion of my cash in the bank. I'm not talking about cash that you need to live on. I'm talking about investable assets. You got to do some research. You got to learn how the banking system works. You got to learn that these idiots don't care about you. They don't care about you. So by the way, everyone on Instagram, come on over to YouTube. I'm going to end this stream on Instagram because it's annoying me. And I'm going to go to my Twitter. what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about some tweets. I appreciate everyone, by the way, that's just commented on, retweeted, and liked the post I put up about this live stream. I appreciate that a lot. Um, Look, today, by the way, I sponsored the very, very first fighter, MMA fighter in Colombia uh, through Bitcoin, and he's basically promised that he's going to keep that Bitcoin rather than just spend it. A lot of these athletes are doing deals where they say, "I want to be paid in Bitcoin," because it's a marketing thing from the exchange. What they do is they receive the Bitcoin, liquidate it immediately into cash, and go buy Lambos. This guy has agreed to hold the Bitcoin. And I mean, just to put things into perspective, when they fight here, they make a couple $100. That's it, and that's like when they're headlining or second on the card or et cetera, et cetera. They're making a couple $100 for being punched in the fucking face. Can you imagine your entire life journey is to be punched in the face, and you get a couple $100, and then you get a couple $100, you hold that, and then 12 people somewhere else in the world decide to press a button and liquidate the value of you getting punched in the face, so that when you're ready to spend that, the value of that couple $100 is now 130. It's insane. So I basically he's been coaching me with boxing. I've been trying to get into that. It's been fun. He's been coaching me with boxing, and I decided to sponsor him for his next fight. He's getting back in the cage next week, and decided to do that. Decided to get an up and coming MMA fighter. He's won his last fight within the first round. It was insane. So he's doing really well, and he's now going to be a voice for Bitcoin because he now finally understands that his money is now solid, right? Um, and again, part of the deal was that he holds the Bitcoin rather than actually sells it and does whatever else. Um, Dental Lounge said, "Would love to jump on a podcast with you. No interviews, just kickback, gentleman's lounge." Yeah, we're gonna definitely do that. I'm trying to figure out how to sort out how to do all the streaming stuff, but now that I know how to sort of make it work, um, it's good. So, by the way, if anyone hasn't seen the FRC token collapsing today, like a crypto, FRC, go bring it up on your trading view. FRC, the FRC token is collapsing like a crypto today when it's actually First Republic Bank. First Republic Bank. These assholes tell you that Bitcoin is too volatile and FRC is moving like a crypto to the downside. Innovation kills everything. Innovation kills everything. And most people are grossly unaware of how fast innovation will kill their business. And this is what's happening to the banks. Innovation is coming in and kicking their ass. Why, like this fighter, why would I want to go through the bullshit that the Colombian banking system puts you through when I can just get Bitcoin, when I can just get paid in Bitcoin? I can then eventually transact in Bitcoin. Why would I want to go through the hassle of a financial system? What incentive is there? Follow the incentives. What incentives do people have to trust the banking system? There's only one incentive. The government protects you. That's it. Once you take that away and you realize, like the bondholders, the bondholders or part of the bondholders of Credit Suisse found out, what's the fucking point? Bonds are supposed to have a higher protection level than equity, and yet they allowed them to go bankrupt. Now, this is what this particular facility was set up for. However, do you not think that that's going to make people think, like, wait a second, I'm buying bonds. I didn't read the small print. Now I just got fucked. You don't think that's going to make them wonder? You don't think that's going to make them wonder about how and where they allocate? The bond market is about $100 trillion market, right? $100 trillion market. I think it's like, let me find out. I put this out on Twitter today. Just 0.2% of US bonds would equal $1 million Bitcoin, right? $1 million Bitcoin. Here's how that works. By the way, so many people are confused about that mathematics. How does just $200 billion? But I had some guy on Twitter say, "Oh no, but the market cap of Bitcoin at $1 million got to be 20 trillion. So how does 200 billion do that?" You got to think. You got to use your brain. Assets don't just work like, okay, I'm going to put $100 in, and that's going to be the addition to the market cap. Especially when you've got an asset like Bitcoin that has such a tight margin of production. Bitcoin's supply completely screws with its pricing mechanism, because you can't just make more. If I want anything else, I want another iPhone, they make more. If I go in and say to a gold mine, I want to buy $1 trillion worth of gold, they're going to turn on some mines because they can now afford to. If I go to the board of Bitcoin and say I want to buy $1 trillion worth of Bitcoin, they say good. They can't do anything. They can't just add more miners and start mining more Bitcoin. It's programmatically controlled. There is as he mentioned, there is an inelastic supply. Regardless of what that happens to the demand, the supply is completely inelastic. Price cannot shift the supply. So Bank of America did a study at the height of the bull market, and they found that at a $1.1 trillion market cap, it was taking about $98.5 million, something like that, to move. It was like between 93 and 98, something like that, $1 million to move the overall market cap by 1%. That means $98 million coming into the market moved the price up, the market cap up by $11 billion, which is 1% of 1.1 trillion. So 98 million coming in, 11 billion market cap going up because of the inelasticity of the asset. So what does that mean? That means for every dollar that goes into Bitcoin, Bank of America suggested that the market cap was going up by $118 for every $1. Yeah, as Calvin said, that's insane. That's insane. That's never been seen on any other asset class, never been seen on anything else. That's absolutely insane. So, to get to a $20 trillion market cap, you need $200 billion chasing the asset all together at the same time. And that, based on the research, will take the market cap to $20 trillion. It's like 19.3, which is the $1 million per Bitcoin. You only need $200 billion. They just added $200 billion of liquidity to the market, just like that. So you don't think that $1 million Bitcoin is possible without something collapsing? You don't know what, you don't understand the inelasticity of this asset. There's a lot of people saying, a lot of people online, a lot of people that are my friends as well, but they're used to either, doom and gloom booming or whatever the fuck else they're used to doing. They're used to, I'm just going to say, they're used to mentally masturbating about the world ending. Bitcoin can get to $1 million a coin without anything ending. It can get to $1 million a coin without anyone breaking anything. The only thing that needs to happen is a sizable amount of money needs to chase the asset at the exact same time. And that will drive the price of Bitcoin up. Now, what they'll say, what idiots will say, is that, oh no, but people will come and sell. Absolutely, people will come and sell. People will come and sell. But as the price goes up, as you are entering a parabolic rise, the people will sell less. And at some point they'll sell, and then it will come down. It will hit the million, then it will come down, and then it will settle out at 800,000 or whatever, depending on what the supply aspect is. Now, here's the thing. Here's what's new. The people that are coming in this cycle compared to the previous cycle, assuming I'm just using the word cycle, I'm not saying that, because we need to wait and see whether the 4 year cycle is still relevant or not. But the people that are coming in this time are people that never ever sell assets. These are people with good credit lines. These are people with good value, good history, and they never need to sell assets. These are people that are worth $10 billion or have $10 billion assets under management and want to put in $1 billion into Bitcoin. They don't need to sell. They don't need to sell their Bitcoin. People are not factoring that in. You are late. At this point, you are officially late, because soon enough you won't be able to get one Bitcoin. You won't be able to access one Bitcoin. And by the way, if anyone wants to complain about how bullish we are, you can go take a dive, because this is what we need. We've got the single most bullish as fuck asset that has ever been created by humanity, with the single hardest, toughest, inelastic supply of any asset that's ever been created by humanity. And you guys want to be conservative about that? That doesn't make sense to me. That doesn't make any fucking sense to me at all. Now is the time to be irrationally bullish, because at this moment, most people in the West have the ability to secure one Bitcoin. Most people in the West have the ability to secure one Bitcoin. That is not going to last. They're coming for your Bitcoin. And I'm not talking about the government. I'm talking about wealthy people. The government is not the only person that's going to come for your Bitcoin. People with money are going to come for your Bitcoin because they'll take it from you. If the price is 100,000, that makes you sell because you are, what do I say, lettuce hands at 100,000. They'll take it from you because they don't care, because they understand the long term. They're not ever going to sell. Whether they buy it at 100,000 or 24,000, they don't give a shit, because they're already worth billions of dollars. They don't care. Their goal is to maintain the value of their wealth. Your goal is to increase the value of your wealth. They're already at the top. You and I need to become billionaires. Whether I don't know where you're at, that's what I'm focused on. Because unless you have the money, unless you have the influence, your words ain't shit. I don't care how many people want to protest. I don't care how many people want to go on Twitter and write shit. Unless you've got the Bitcoin in this world that we're going into, your opinion ain't gonna matter for shit. Your opinion is not gonna matter for shit, because you can't influence anything. The only currency you have is to talk shit. That doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. You have to have wealth. You have to be able to protect that wealth, and you have to be able to influence with wealth. I'm relighting my cigar. So all of these people that say, "Oh, I've got 0.01 Bitcoin and then that's it, I'm going to screw the system," you're fucked, because you live in the West. If you lived in Colombia and then said, "I have 0.1 Bitcoin or whatever," that's different. That's a different story. You live in the West. You live in the West, and you haven't been focused on getting to one Bitcoin during this bear market, because you think just buying a little bit of Bitcoin, DCAing $10 a month, is going to save your ass. No, it's not. The banks just went bankrupt. You just had SVB go bankrupt. You had 3 bank failures in the US, and Credit Suisse go down. The shit, like, if you're not serious right now about Bitcoin, you'll never be serious, and you're fucked. This is the one opportunity while we've been under this 200-week moving average for you to get to one Bitcoin, and you've been sitting around shit posting on the internet. You can say whatever you can say. Any of these people can say whatever the fuck they want to say. At the end of the day, we're entering a world finally again where the resources that you have based on the labor that you have put out will become relevant. That's the beauty of Bitcoin. We don't live in that world right now. We live in a world where somebody can put in no labor, gain no value, and still have a ton of money. Still have a ton of money because they can just print it and they can hand it out. That's the world we live in right now. These people haven't learned anything. They haven't gained any skills. The only thing they know how to do is talk shit on the internet. They don't know how to market. They don't know how to sell. They don't know how to convince anyone of anything. And most importantly, they haven't accumulated enough exchange of value and then protected that exchange of value with enough Bitcoin to have an opinion. Your opinion is irrelevant. Do you guys agree with what I'm saying or what? Yeah, that's a good point. We need to be more aggressive when orange pilling others. Absolutely. What the fuck do you think this is? This ain't a time for you to sit here and tell people, oh, it's okay. You can $10 a month DCA because you have a weak mindset. This ain't that time. They're about to lose their opportunity, and they only have one opportunity in humanity to do this. This is not like a Bitcoin's going to come around every 20 years. They've got one opportunity to acquire the safest, hardest, strongest asset, which is why I put the tweet out and I said, you have to acquire Bitcoin for your progeny, even if your lineage thinks you're crazy, right? Even if your lineage thinks you're crazy, you have to acquire Bitcoin because this is the only chance, not just in your lifetime, in anyone's lifetime that comes after you, that you're going to get to be able to acquire this asset, right? Because, and the reason for that is there's no new Bitcoins coming out. There is Bitcoin. There's 21 million. The problem is most people have never lived in a world where they have a finite opportunity. Because we live in a world where everyone has infinite opportunity. If they don't have an infinite opportunity, they miss it. Suddenly they get another opportunity because there's another round of printing, and now they need to give more and more money to more and more people who are bad at managing capital because they need to get debt out there faster and faster. So everyone thinks they get more and more opportunity. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. That is what has led to this situation. And you had VCs put money into SVB doing this exact same thing. They got bailed out. You ain't gonna get bailed out. You think you're gonna get bailed out talking shit on Twitter? You ain't gonna get bailed out from no one. Terry said, I'm tired of orange pilling people. Most don't want to put time in to do the work. Absolutely. I agree with you. Most don't want to put time in to do the work. That's why I bought Bitcoin for everyone I love. I had to force people to buy Bitcoin. I had to force my parents to buy Bitcoin. The first time, then they got it. But the first time, and obviously, if you've seen the video on my YouTube channel about how I got my parents into Bitcoin, you know that they gave Michael Saylor the credit for that. Absolutely, there's no better way to learn something than have skin in the game. Alan said Bitcoin is actually a risk-off asset, but people still treat it as a risk-on asset because of lack of information and knowledge. If people treat Bitcoin as crypto, why do you think it will go up? Because until the US get this through your head, until the US dollar collapses, nothing is a risk-off asset. Nothing is a risk-off asset until the US dollar collapses. The 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 US dollar is the risk-off asset for most people in the world, in most parts of the world. Not Bitcoin, not stocks, not real estate, nothing. The US dollar is the risk-off asset until it collapses. And then when it collapses, that's when people will make a judgment about which assets are the best, and then they'll turn around and go and realize that Bitcoin is the best. But the US dollar is the risk off asset at this point in time. Bitcoin is absolutely a risk on asset when it comes to the perception from the market. If you don't understand that, I mean, philosophically, we can have the debate and understand that Bitcoin is a risk off asset. However, from a market perception perspective, I don't need to wait. Bitcoin is a risk on asset, which is why price is so important. A lot of people on my Twitters like to tell me, oh, I'm fiat minded because I like focusing on the price. The price is doing the marketing. Me talking this shit is one thing. The price will teach people more than anything, because when they were going to buy it at 24,000 and now it's 29,000 and then it's 500,000 and then it's $1 million and they still haven't bought and now they get less and less, that will teach them a lot. That will at least inspire them to come in and learn. Hakeem said, I hope I pronounced your name right. How much time do we have to get one big? Listen, you've had your time. I don't understand what you've been doing. You've had your time. We've been in a bear market for 2 years. You've had your time. What have you been doing? Swiping on Instagram. Um, at the end of the day, said 90 days. Look, at the end of the day, we are entering a period. That's it. That's not a lot of time. Listen, calm down and make your plan and focus on how much Bitcoin you need to buy in what period of time, and figure it out. Don't You're not going to sit here and listen to some guy on YouTube streaming tell you, oh, you've got 10 days to get your first Bitcoin. Because really, you should have bought it 10 days ago, not now. So right now we've got the Federal Reserve. This week's an interesting week. We've got the Federal Reserve. Everyone on Twitter is mentally masturbating about the Federal Reserve again, what they're going to do, etc., etc. There's two paths, and I put this on my friend Jeff's Twitter post as well. The Fed has two paths. Either they're going to print. Sorry, I was reading a sell a kidney. That's hilarious. So either the Federal Reserve has two paths, right? Either they're going to pause, right? They're going to pause, which is going to cause some panic, and then they're going to print to fix the panic, or they're going to hike, but a little bit, which is also going to cause panic and pain in the future. So they're going to print to fix the panic and pain. There is only one destination here. We are printing money. We are increasing liquidity. What the Federal Reserve does is irrelevant. It's only relevant to those people who are trading. If you are trading and you're trying to trade Bitcoin, I pray for you. I don't ever try and do that. The only time I'll try and trade Bitcoin is looking for an entry signal, like what I said with the 200-week moving average. This guy said, should I use my credit cards to secure my position? Listen, stop being an idiot. I'm not gonna tell you to go put Bitcoin on your credit card. You gotta do what you gotta do. Everything depends. Like everything depends. How good are you at managing credit? This is a dumb question. In fact, the fact that you're asking me this question, or asking it as you're asking people on the internet whether you should go and use a credit card to go buy the world's most volatile asset. Come on. Alan said people who had a percentage of their money in cash or USD when Bitcoin was 69K were rewarded when it dropped to 20s. Do you recommend holding any cash position now? Like I said, I always have 3 years of cash in the bank. I always have 3 years of cash in the bank. Always, 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 because that's where I feel comfortable. Now, when I see something like a 200-week moving average bounce, I might take that down to 2 years of cash in the bank and invest that 1 year. But I always have 3 years of cash in the bank. I'm in a privileged position to do so. Most people are not. I'm in a privileged position to do so. I'm in a privileged position to be able to have 3 years of cash in the bank. That's not most people's story. And I completely understand that. I don't really know how to answer that question for you if you're not in that position. But yeah, absolutely. Listen, to say people at 69K that were rewarded when the Bitcoin price came down, would you be saying the same thing if the price went up to 400,000 and then dropped back down to 70? Right? You wouldn't be saying the same thing. So you got to look at the convenience of you being able to say that too. You've got to look at the convenience of you being able to say that too. Hey, can someone do me a favor and find out what the average net worth is of someone in retirement age in the US? Yeah, hindsight is 2020, and yet 2020 was 2020 vision. If you knew what you were looking for in 2020, I went through 2008, completely fucked up 2008, and then waited 12 years. 12 years I waited, fine tuning my skills, fine tuning, understanding how markets work, fine tuning how to read markets, fine tuning how the world works, fine tuning how what game we live in, etc., etc., for my opportunity in 2020. I was lucky in 2020. I had assets were growing. I had businesses were growing, etc., etc., and so I could take advantage of it. But my point is, I had to go through 2008, completely fucked that up, still got out unscathed, unlike a lot of people. So I appreciate that part of my journey. And then it took me 12 years of preparation to see the opportunity of 2020. And then I had to act. So Jeff said the median is 266K and the average is $1.2 million. Think about that. The This is for 65 to 74-year-olds. $1.2 million average. Everyone's goal, that is at 65 years old. Yeah. 65 years old. Average $1.2 million net worth. That's a joke. That's a joke. Like, that is a joke. And most people's assets in that scenario are in their houses, are in their property. That's why it's gone up. If it was in cash, they'd be even worse. Real estate has been a godsend. Real estate has been a godsend because if people weren't in real estate, they would have been speculating. They would have been speculating and they would have lost a bunch of money. So your target, if you're like in your 40s right now, if you're in your 30s, if you're in your 20s, your number one goal should be to get to, based on that, a $1.2 million net worth. That should be your number one goal. That's what I wanted. When I first started, my main goal was, all right, who are these old people? Who are these successful old people? I want to get to whatever their average is as fast as possible. I did that at a very, very early age, and I've been blessed enough to do that. Yeah, that's a good point. Beardy just said a really good point. I'm gonna wait for this airplane to go. He said, either you press the like button or you're telling us that you're short Bitcoin right now. I think that makes a lot of sense. So either press the like button or everyone here will know that you're shorting Bitcoin in the market. I think that makes a lot of sense. I like that one. Lion Legal said, are you doing a call-in show? At some point, I need to figure this. This is my second stream. This is my second stream on YouTube. So I need to figure that out. My friend Bitcoin Chris is already trying to show me how to do that. So hopefully we'll have that set up. I don't know whether that works by Zoom or whatever the hell else, but we'll get that figured out. At the end of the day, for me, this asset is an opportunity to 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 yes, absolutely grow my own wealth, but also give back too, because this is the first time you can actually do that. Because whether I buy Bitcoin or whether you buy Bitcoin, the only differential is the price. Whereas with real estate, we can't do that. If I want to go buy that building that's behind me that you can see, that means you can't buy it, which means I'm incentivized to feed you malinformation about that building so that I get the better deal. That doesn't work with Bitcoin. The only incentive I have is, do I buy at an earlier price than you, because it's the same asset. People don't think about things like this. When I first got into real estate, you know how many people we had to lie to about things? I'm not talking about, like, to protect my clients, I had to lie to other dealers about what the deal was so that they wouldn't try going for the same deal because they thought the negotiation wouldn't work out as a fair deal. There was times where I would tell a dealer, and I was doing that deal because I had no other choice, rather than tell them the truth, which was it was a fucking good deal, so that our clients could get in. Hold on. So I had to. That happens with everything. Do you think you're getting the right information when it comes to stocks? Do you think Ron Barron went around before he got his position in Tesla and started telling people that Tesla was what he thought it was? Or did he secure his position and then start pumping his bag? Bitcoin is the first time in human history where I can literally tell you how good that real estate deal is and not worry, because the only differentiating factor is the price that we buy at. Do you understand how peaceful that makes the world? Do you understand how spiritually connected that makes the world? For the first time in human history, you can get rich and truly care about people. It's amazing. You can protect the value of your wealth in the best battery that humanity has ever created and care about people. That's amazing. Alan said a lot of successful people suggest for 20-year-olds to build skills and build businesses rather than focusing on investing. But I think BTC is an exception because it's a once in a lifetime chance. What do you think? I think a lot of those people just want to get YouTube views and want to be liked. I think a lot of 20-year-olds don't understand that they've been told to go into the creative space, and the same people that told them to go into the creative space and figure out what they like and this, that, and the other have now built AI tools to completely defeat the purpose of those jobs. I told you I was about to hire 6 to 8 people to manage this British Hollow project, and now it's 2 because of AI. It's 2. So I think that the 20-year-olds, what they should be doing is figuring out how to lower their cost of living, figure out what did they do, what are they excited about, without anyone else telling them what to do. What are you excited about without anyone else telling you what to do? That's what I did. It wasn't that I was passionate about real estate when I first started. I just did it. No one else had to tell me to do it. I went and read the books. I understood, what a mortgage broker was, what a lawyer was, how to talk to these people, how to structure a deal, etc. I just did it. I was doing it without being told to do it. I was challenged. And so you got to go and figure that out and then create value and do everything you can to protect every single cent of value that you create, because you're already underpaid. This is the thing that young people don't understand. You're already underpaid. Unless you're in the tech space, unless you're in, whatever space where you're getting overpaid to drink soy lattes or whatever the hell else you drink, whatever the hell else you're into, you're getting underpaid already because of the amount of inflation that's happening. And then they want you to go get an expensive place, get an expensive car, buy a Rolex, do this, that, and the other. You need to protect the value that you are earning because you're not earning enough. And for that, you need to understand what battery is the best. And a battery is real estate, stocks, gold, Bitcoin. And then you have to sit there and evaluate which of these batteries is best for you. And when you do that, it all comes down to Bitcoin. It all comes back down to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is the best battery. So for a 20-year-old, if you're when I was 20, I was looking for the biggest, baddest challenge I could find. And now these kids don't want to do that. Most of them don't want to do that because they're watching too many podcasts thinking they're going to get successful. At the end of the day, the value exchange works like this. Hey, I got X. This is how I think it will add value to the problem that you're trying to solve. Are you trying to solve that problem? Yes. Are you serious that you want to solve that problem? Yes. Okay. This is how much it's going to cost you to solve that problem. Do you want to solve that problem? That's it. That's where a value exchange happens. So find something where there's a ton of people who have a ton of money and who are desperate to solve a particular problem in their life and figure out how to solve that problem. That's the skill that you need to learn. In the meantime, you earn your money and put it into the best battery, which is Bitcoin. So now the battery is holding your value while you build your skills. And then over time, that battery capacity grows and grows and grows. That's what you want as a young person in this day and time, because the world's about to get fucking insane. Everyone was talking about AI and this, that, and the other. AI is here. This shit is scary. You're gonna see a lot of you guys that are following, what I'm doing right now. We're in the early stages. There's like 52 people watching this right now. We're in the very, very, very early stages of what's going on with what we're trying to do with this British Hodl production, this British Hodl shit show that we've got going on. Right? This is very early stages. You're going to see so much content be pushed out, and it's going to look like I'm doing a lot of work. That's what it's going to look like. I ain't. I'm really not. I'm not doing a lot of work. I'm at the point in my life where I get to decide things. That's where I'm at, because I have capital and resources that allow me to get other people to do the work. The most work intensive thing I'm doing right now is writing this book, and I'm only doing that because I really care, and I want people to understand. I want people with assets to understand why Bitcoin is better than the assets that they're holding. That's what I'm passionate about, because my parents spent 35 years building a property portfolio, and because of me, even though they want to give Michael Saylor the credit, because of me, they've now bought one Bitcoin per property at an average price of $10,000 ish, roughly. And what that means is, as soon as Bitcoin surpasses $100,000, the 35 years they spent building value in their real estate portfolio is going to be doubled liquid, with an asset they can take anywhere in the world, no longer subjugated by the US, by the UK government and their restrictive tax policies on real estate and their controlling tax policies on real estate. That's what's happening right now. So that's why I'm passionate about writing this book. So I'm dedicating myself to it. But in terms of my work is making decisions. And this, I love this, right? So when they say, what is your passion? I like doing this. I like helping people realize that they need to get to one Bitcoin minimum. I had a guy message me on Twitter. I haven't put this out yet. And he said, because of me tweeting and reading my tweets and other people's tweets, he's managed to secure himself 10 Bitcoin. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But that's how important this community is. That's how important orange pilling people is. Yeah, you might bang your head against the wall 30 times, but then there'll be that one time, and that person will be able to take their wealth, put it in a battery that protects it, and then actually have the impact they want to have in the world. And that's important. That's very important. I haven't been looking at these questions, I'm just reading them. All these comments. Alan said savings technology. Yeah, it's a savings technology. That's what Bitcoin. Every asset is a savings technology. When you convert your physical labor into currency, you now have to decide where to put that energy. That energy comes in the form of currency, and then you take that energy and put it into a battery. And then the battery, every battery that we have right now, is designed to increase in size. So let's say this is the battery, right? Let's say this is the battery. You take a bunch of currency, and now this is your currency. So you've come 50% close to filling up that battery. But suddenly they issue more building permits. Suddenly they imprint more money, so et cetera, et cetera. So now you're trying to catch up and trying to fill that battery up, but the battery capacity keeps expanding. Bitcoin is the first time in human history where the battery capacity does not change. The only thing that changes is how much energy you put in the battery. That's it. Do you understand how important that is for humanity? Hakeem said, I'm at the point where I'm trying to do a fund with my family so all of us can pull together and buy more. At the end of the day, just get them to buy it themselves. It's very important for people to understand why they need this asset themselves. Calvin said, I'm embarrassed to say that I'm back to being a paralegal due to COVID. Did you know I wanted to be a lawyer when I was younger? I wanted to be a corporate lawyer because I thought that was exciting. I didn't have enough time to learn under Oliver. Failing in markets is part of life. I can't wait to re-enter the journey. What do you mean you re-enter the journey? Are you telling me you're not getting paid to be a paralegal? Every time you get paid, put 10% into Bitcoin. That's just yeah. I think that's a bit silly. Alan said, if anyone, who orange pilled you? Yeah, that's a really good question. So for me, I was walking. I actually put this out on a YouTube video. Go watch that. But I was walking around in a park, and I thought Bitcoin was a scam in 2017. And I was walking around a park during the pandemic in London, and a friend of mine had recommended the Bitcoin Standard. And because I knew Saifedean, I did a little bit of background. He had a gold background. I had a gold background as well. I was like, all right, let me listen to this guy. I'm walking around the park, and he mentions just one thing. He mentions stock to flow, and that was when the penny dropped. As soon as he mentioned stock to flow, I was like, "Holy shit! I completely fucked up. I completely fucked up." So we are at the 200-week moving average. Now is the single most important time for you to buy Bitcoin if you're sitting on the sidelines. There is never going to be a better time than this, because in this next cycle, people are coming into this game that will not allow you to do this anymore. Most people in the world are already far away from owning one Bitcoin. If you're in the West and you have the privilege to actually earn one Bitcoin, like you've had for the last 2 years, and you haven't taken that, you got to look yourself in the mirror, and you got to deal with yourself. You got to look yourself deep in the eyes and have a conversation with yourself, because there's no one else on earth that's going to tell you to get off your ass and get to one Bitcoin. Right. I'm on the verge of finishing this. I got to go to dinner in about 35 minutes. Any questions? I've just been reading comments. Is there any like specific questions that anyone has besides what wallet should I fucking use? We are at, finally, we are at, Hakeem said, "You're right, British, but they seem afraid and don't understand. I'm trying to enlighten them. Send them videos, send them books, buy them books, whatever. Listen, at the end of the day, listen, look, let's just get down to the nitty gritty, okay? I'm just gonna keep it as real as I can. At the end of the day, most people are not gonna make it. Now, whether you agree with that or not, I don't give a shit. Most people are not going to make it because they've been too conditioned. They're too worried about their gender. They're too worried about their mental health. They're too worried about XYZ. Most people are not going to make it when it comes to their wealth. They've been distracted. They've been told to focus on things that they shouldn't be focusing on because if they put their focus on the wealth, that threatens the system. So you need to understand that you have to take action. And like I said, you have to buy Bitcoin, and you have to secure it for your progeny, even if your lineage thinks you're crazy. And that's very, very important. So remember, this person just said, I have gold physically, I want to sell it for Bitcoin. Well, what are you talking about? I mean, do it. Why are you asking someone on YouTube? Alan said, can you talk about more companies and institutions coming in to buy Bitcoin? I think that will be a turning point. Listen, whether companies and institutions come in or not, it's irrelevant. They will, but it's irrelevant. I think they'll be probably the last people to come in. I think sovereign wealth funds, family offices, etc., are probably first to come in, and they're much bigger than institutions and companies. Right, guys, listen, look, there's always 3 rules to Bitcoin, right? Everyone knows those 3 rules? Everyone knows those 3 rules or no? People know the 3 rules to Bitcoin? It's very, very simple. Firstly, this is not part of the 3 rules, but please subscribe. Please share this channel. Please share this video. I appreciate every single person for watching, every single person for being here. It's the beginning of my journey as British Huddle. And hopefully we put out enough good messages to make everyone in the community proud. We're all here supporting this one asset and supporting this one message for the betterment of humanity. Finally, we have something we can recommend for the betterment of humanity, and we can all work together to do it. So hopefully, we can keep this train going. But there's only 3 rules to Bitcoin. It's step number 1, buy Bitcoin. Step number 2, shut the fuck up. And step number 3, you get fabulously wealthy.